Greetings, gaming historians, and welcome to Lord of Lore, where we break down the lore and history of our favorite video games and fantasies. And today, we're returning to the world of Amalur to continue our exploration of the game's many lands. Last week, we discussed the lore and history of the western Faelands, including Dalentarth, Detyre, and the Plains of Erathell. Today, we will be crossing the Driana's Vein River to explore the eastern Faelands, from the decaying swamps of Klurikon to the crystalline wasteland of Alabastra. Now, fair warning, there are spoilers ahead. Let's discuss. We move on to the land of Klurikon, a brutal swamp filled with rotten forests, muddy marshes, and ruined battlefields. While the western Faelands are filled with beautiful flora and its own fair share of dangerous wild fae, the land of Klurikon appears far more hostile. Not only are the wild fae here more monstrous and numerous, but even the flora and the earth itself are covered in dangers like thorns, ooze, and sinister cliffs. Unlike the Plains of Erathell, where the Alfar holds strong against the Tuatha De Danann, the lands of Klurikon have been ravaged by the Crystal War, with many castles and war camps lying in ruins. Even the great city of Nelson Shear, the sister city of the Dokafar capital Rathir, has been under constant siege for years. However, while the land of Klurikon has always been a land of death, death used to be something that was solemn and revered. Long ago, when the steel-divided Winter Fae first arrived in these lands, one group was fascinated by how its muddy earth swallowed the remains of once mighty beasts. Respecting its serenity and its power, this group established themselves in the Miden, also known as the Cradle of Winter, and they began to tend its muddy earth, ensuring that the dead did not go to waste and strengthening the soil by feeding it corpses. Most sacred of all the Miden was the hallowed tree, a massive tree that fed off the decay of nature, which can be seen both in the mortal realm and the Fae dimension of Ashara. One of these members grew tired of his brethren's fighting, and so, empowered by the memories and strength of the dead, he absorbed their pain and their sadness into himself and wept a river of sorrows, finally bringing the Winter Fae's infighting to an end. This Fae would soon become known as the Weeping King, and following in his example, the Winter Fae established their own court and tasked themselves with the upkeep of winter and decay. All of the three great houses, the House of Sorrows, the House of Pride, and the House of Vengeance, were originally formed in the land of Klurikon. However, like all the Fae, the Winter Court was devastated by the rise of the Tuatha De Danann. When the Tirnoch-empowered Gadflo slew the Winter King Mathan and declared war on the mortal races, the once revered lands of Klurikon were sullied by the careless brutality of the Tuatha De Danann. First, the houses of Pride and Vengeance were swallowed into the Tuatha De Danann, and even the House of Sorrows was forced to bargain with Gadflo for survival. Other marks of the Tuatha's corruption can be seen throughout Klurikon. In the Miden, the Tuatha began to hang slain mortals upon the boughs of Hallowed Tree, soon renamed the Gallows Tree, and the tree itself began to be poisoned by the unhallowed blood. Elsewhere in the Keening, the player can find a great canyon known as Balor's Crossing, where the great Niskaru Lord itself tore through the earth as it arrived from the Chaos Realm. With the help of the Fateless One, the land of Klurikon can become a safer place for the many Dokafar that fought against the Tuatha, but the damage done to the Court of Winter and the balance they preserved could not be undone. Sadly, this predicament was even worse in the land of Alabastra. Alabastra is the last main game location that players will explore, a land dominated by the Tuatha forces amidst enormous Prismeer crystals dominating the skyline. It was here that the Winter Fae held court, and it was not always a land ruled by Tuatha De Danann and Prismeer. Long ago, Alabastra was a cold but hauntingly beautiful land dominated by ice, jagged rocks, and trees made of pale alabaster. However, unbeknownst to the Winter Fae, the heart of Alabastra, Amethen, was also the prison of Tirnoch, a great dragon imprisoned long ago by the ancient Alfar. Despite her imprisonment, Tirnoch still retained enough power to bend the fates of mortals and to corrupt Alabastra, not only twisting the minds of its Fae, but also splitting the land with ever-growing shards of Prismeer. As the Fateless One draws closer to Amethen, these giant crystals will continue to emerge and grow, showing that Tirnoch is growing closer to her goal of freedom. Thankfully for Amalur, the power given to the Fateless One by their absorbed souls is enough to defeat Tirnoch, but her power still lingered even after the Age of Arcana. As the Winter Fae continued to decline, the Dalentarth began to venture deeper into the eastern Faelands. In southern Klurikon, they found a deformation in the earth that led them to an underground cavern filled with pure Prismere crystal. The Dalentarth settled this land and began to study the Prismere, and although its power allowed their magic to reach new heights, it also began to corrupt their physical forms and perhaps even their minds. What other roles the Eastern Faelands play in the future of Amalur remains a mystery, at least for now. And that about does it for today's video. The brutal lands of Klurikon and Alabastra provide a fascinating contrast between the warm lands of the West, and the many intricacies of the Winter Fae provide even more lore to these twisted lands. I will need to do a video on the Winter Fae soon, but our next video will discuss the lesser known lands outside the Faelands, such as Gallows End and the Teeth of Naros. Until then, however, what do you think of the Eastern Faelands? Are there any interesting points that I missed? What other locations should I explore in future videos? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and be sure to drop a like and subscribe so my channel can grow. Feel free to comment what you would like to see next, new videos regularly. God bless!